IUP President Dr. Michael Driscoll joins us this morning, and our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Dr. Driscoll, thanks. I know it's not easy to find time to talk to us this morning because you guys are really busy at IUP.
Well, thanks, Todd. It's good to be able to be with you for a minute this morning, but people are busy. I have to say that the faculty and staff at IUP are incredible folks, and they're just stepping up every time there's a new curve or a new challenge thrown our way. And so they're working a lot harder than I am, I have to say that, and I appreciate all they're doing.
I want to get into that a little bit. We heard the story out of Kutztown today, some unhappiness with their reopening plans, and each of the schools in the state system has been left to design its own plan, and as we talked with you last time, it was simply because every community is different, the circumstances of each university are different, and so all of those have specific considerations. Last week, IUP announcing a plan that effectively will put the freshmen on campus and cut the student bodies who are there on the campus to about a third. Let's talk a little bit about that decision and how important it is to work with the faculty and staff to make sure everybody's comfortable.
I think it's important to note that all of us are adapting to changing conditions, and there's no one simple right answer here, and people are upset, and that's going to happen no matter what we do in one direction or another. All of us as leaders are challenged with making some hard decisions that try to balance everything that's out there, and I think we're seeing that at universities, but at businesses and other entities throughout the state and the country. The real issues that we faced here that caused us to make a decision, we're keeping an eye on our local plans, which I think we're very strong, and I'm very confident in what we've planned for both keeping students and employees safe on campus, but also for giving students a high-quality educational experience the best that we can. And we have to remember that that's our job. That last one is that educational mission is the big deal. What we're seeing is that Western Pennsylvania, Indiana County, other places in the state and in the country are seeing an increase in cases. And we look very carefully at what those trends are, and that's happening here in Indiana right now, is that we're seeing more cases, and certainly in the month of July we started to see an increase. It was concerning. The cases don't seem to be as severe as they might be, and we're fortunate for that with relatively few deaths, tragic though those deaths are. And so we really had to look at, can we adapt what our plans were to make sure that those students who most need to be here to succeed educationally can be here. And it requires, and is requiring right now as I speak, a lot of work by faculty and staff to rethink how they're going to deliver their program material. But we were preparing for this all summer. We did an academy, a summer academy for faculty and staff to help them learn how to work with technology, extend their skills, and do some great work to make the experience better no matter what form the education would come in. We recognize that freshmen, that first semester, is critical to student success, and all the data shows that throughout the history of us collecting data or others doing so. And so they really need to be here to have the support staff, to have the direct engagement with faculty more than just about any other group of students we would find. And so that's why we focused on those students first and making sure we could get them back and take care of them and make sure we set them off on a path to success in their academic career and in their life in these unprecedented times. And so those are just some of the things that we were looking at. And we didn't want to overwhelm the community or our capacity in these uncertain times with the numbers changing in terms of cases. And so trying to work with fewer students physically here seems like a better way to manage our supplies and testing capabilities and all of those sorts of things that we're all dealing with right now.
One thing that folks are going to always ask you is, after a plan such as IUP's was announced last week and people have had a little bit of time to digest it, what is the reaction to it? What's some of the feedback you're getting?
There are a couple of threads of feedback. I think certainly there are students and families who are upper-class students, so have gone beyond the freshman year, who are very, very disappointed in not finding that they can be back to normal, if you will, on campus, and that things are different. And they're voicing their concerns in loud voices, some of them, and understand that. And they're just very concerned about that experience that they were hoping for. We're going to do a great job in delivering good education, and I'm absolutely confident our faculty will do that, but it is challenging for someone who is hoping to be here and see their friends again face to face and all of those sort of things that come with a college experience. But we had to move a little bit in the way of safety there. We've also been hearing from folks and continue to hear from folks who are pleased that they have options, people who have certain medical conditions or just plain scared, concerned about being back engaged with other people, and they're thankful that we're providing them with some other options. We're not requiring all of our freshmen to come back, for example. We're encouraging them all to be here, and we'll absolutely do our best to keep them safe. But some are very concerned, and we'll find ways for those students to engage remotely, just as an example of those sorts of comments that we're hearing. I think probably there's within our employee base, there's some concern about having to sort of refine what they're doing, retool a little bit for this. So there's a lot of work right now, but also a bit of relief that we'll be able to try our protocols and work together with fewer students physically present than seeing, all 9,800 or 10,000 of them.
We're certainly aware of what APSCUF has been releasing since some of these plans have come out and the concerns that faculty members have. Of course, you've got Dr. Martin right there on campus, the president of APSCUF, so there's a nice line of communication going on there. What are faculty telling you about these plans, and how do faculty actually help you to develop them?
Yeah, I think that there are a couple good comments there, and we're glad that Dr. Martin is in the leadership role in APSCUF, although that means she's in Harrisburg most of the time, so we don't get to see her very often here at home, but she certainly has great familiarity with us. The faculty concerns are of two sorts, and all of us are engaged and dedicated to our students and giving them a great education. And so people are concerned about how we do that effectively. But people are also concerned, as anyone would be, about safety and how we do that well. And I've just been really pleased with how our faculty have stepped up. We have some faculty who have medical conditions that really require us to take extra care with them, and they're probably breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief right now, some of them, because having fewer students physically here gives us a little more flexibility with teaching arrangements and face-to-face arrangements for some of them than we had before we made this rebalancing of our plan. The reality is that, just anecdotally, I've bumped into a few faculty who are thankful for this switch, even though they know it's a difficult one and they'll have to work harder. We've been having faculty and staff engaged in the planning, and a few students as well from the beginning, with a university planning council, which is broadly representative across the university, spearheading our planning for this fall. And that involves somewhere in the neighborhood, I think, of maybe as many as 100 people from across the university looking at all the options. What do we do with facilities? How do we deal with scheduling? How are we going to structure classroom and staff interaction in our service offices? How are we going to deal with all of that? And that's what resulted in us publishing the plan that you can find online if you go to IUP.edu, that talks about all of the aspects of our plan and get a reasonable level of detail. So they've been engaged and been giving the leadership here, myself and my cabinet, just great advice, good thinking throughout. And again, I'm just so pleased with the work that they're doing and have done.
One of the big aspects of that plan, as you read through it, is the amount of actual physical work that has been done on the IUP campus to ensure proper PPE. We think of the various protocols for health screenings and things of that nature, but the actual physical plant at IUP looks different now, doesn't it?
It really does, and it will continue to be managed differently in the future. As recently as last night, we were engaged in some discussion, and by we, I really mean our good folks, our faculty and facility staff working together to figure out where we're going to put some additional air filtering capability in some of our older buildings to make sure we keep the air safe. Most of our buildings are still closed. We've marked everything in public spaces with appropriate social distancing things, just the kind of things you'd see in the grocery store or whatever. Lots of cleaning has been going on over the last days and weeks in student housing and in the buildings, and setting out stands with hand sanitizer and all sorts of things like that to make sure that we can keep places sanitized and clean and help people do the right things themselves personally to maintain that protection against spread of the virus.
One of the interesting things to me about the Kutztown letter that was released this week was their listing of 15 points of great concern that they have with the Kutztown faculty and the community and the students and staff as well. And I don't know how extensively you've looked at that, but it to me it served as a real checklist that you can go down and say, yep, we're good with that, maybe need a little work here or there. But those are the things that are in other people's minds, and to me, every bit of information you get is something that is going to help you to formulate the way that you move forward from here. Do you look at it that way too?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Todd. The importance of each of us being encouraged to take the right steps, whether organizationally or individually, and I think that individual responsibility is really critical here. We know that a few things, if we do them consistently, greatly reduce the risk of spread of the virus, and that's the key now. And so washing your hands and wearing a mask and maintaining social distancing and all of those sorts of things are very simple to do, but they're harder to do, and make sure that people are taking those steps. Making sure you're wiping down surfaces, all of those sorts of things. Making sure you're not having large parties. Making sure all of those reasonable guidance based on science are being followed, and that we're all taking those steps. And checklists work. If you look at that every morning, take your temperature, whatever that might be, do that self-check, it'll make a big difference. And where folks have stepped up and done that consistently, it has made a difference in the country and in the world.
Yeah, I noted that one of the Kutztown things was they were asking for better filtration in their older buildings. You've already mentioned that's a step that IUP has taken and is continuing to take. So our closing moments here with IUP President Dr. Michael Driscoll. Optimism that you're going to be able to move forward under this plan, of course, knowing that everything changes on a day-to-day basis. How optimistic are you?
Well, I'm confident in the work and preparation that we've done, and I'm confident in our people, and that's going to make all the difference. If our students can understand that they need to take appropriate measures, if the community continues to take appropriate measures to keep the spread of the virus down, I think we'll get through this fall with this model. And we're starting to plan for spring and how we try to move into that based on what we learn in the next few weeks, quite honestly, and we'll refine what we're doing, and hopefully we'll be able to bring folks back. Again, there are no promises here because there are so many things that depend on how the virus behaves, how we move toward additional ways to treat cases of the virus or to protect against them with a vaccine or whatever. But hopefully we'll be able to learn enough right now in the next few weeks to move ahead on this model for the fall and do even better in the spring.
We don't think of IUP as being in its own little bubble there. We know that you're a part of this big community of ours, and it's good to know that you've been able to spend some time with us. And you're not just talking to the IUP community, you're talking to this entire community, and we appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you so much, Todd, and thanks for allowing us to have this conversation, get the word out. Certainly, we're concerned about everyone in the area as well as just our students and our employees. We're all in this together, and that's important.
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Todd.
All right, bye now.
Bye-bye.
There is IUP President Dr. Michael Driscoll with us here this morning on Indiana in the Morning. On Indiana in the Morning. On